How is it that we in a free society with one of the greatest governments of any country, with the Constitution, our fight for freedom, how do we get to where we are today? I was reflecting on barking dogs. It doesn't matter where I go in the United States, barking dogs seem to always punctuate every single neighborhood. Mostly women have dogs, not one, not two, but three, some many more. They bark all day. They bark all night. When a leaf flutters, they bark. When a car goes by, they bark. When nothing goes down the street, they bark. But what kills me is there's no requirements that dog owners have to meet in order to get a dog. They do have to be licensed in a city, they have to be on a leash, but they don't have to pass any test. And what is really ironic to me, as annoying as irresponsible pet owners can be, and there's a cargo shiploads of them all throughout the US. You can't do anything. I went to court recently. Two women, house is burned down or burned inside. They're not allowed to live in it. The house sat vacant for over a year. They pulled in a moldy travel trailer in the yard. There's three dogs. They bark incessantly. 4 years. I've called animal control. I wrote 8 pages of notes. Duration, which dog. The dogs jumped the short little 32-inch fence, dragged stuff into my yard. These are not the kind of people I'm going to talk to. Not going to get into all that, but they're not good neighbors. I've never had words with them. When it came to court, she and some old man that came with her, who doesn't even live there, lied. She said, I need the dogs for protection. I don't even own a gun. Me and my daughter live in the trailer. Judge says, why are you living in a trailer? If I order the fire marshal, I want to say, well, because they didn't renew their insurance policy on the house and the place burned and they can't afford to get it fixed. And various relatives have come over and made noise, including tearing up and down the street in fart cars and playing loud, shaking bass. If I or anybody else was to do anything to harm those dogs, we can go to jail. Women in the US cringe, get angry at animal cruelty. And I am not for animal cruelty. But we've had a shift in our society where dogs were simply dogs. They eat their own poop. They eat their own vomit. They drink out of the toilet. They eat dead stuff. They're not exactly clean animals. And what I don't understand is that women who have them don't seem to mind all that incessant barking. I've been through this rodeo many times. The judge was going to take the dogs away. He didn't fine them. Nothing. Animal control's been over there repeatedly. But if you notice, depending on what color you are, Nobody wants to prosecute anybody who is not white. We saw what happened in 2020, right? The cops are bad, the cops are racist. So now you can steal up to $900 worth of stuff in San Francisco and shopping venues and you don't get caught. You're not going to do anything. I mean, that's all liberal politics. But isn't it amazing that a woman can coolly, without any conviction, with adamant rage, if anybody tries to stand in her way, she can kill her baby in the name of choice and abortion? That American women, under the auspices, under the direction and overseeing and screaming and championing the rights to murder, the Democratic Party has committed genocide to children, up to 61 million, which is more than Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin combined. Let that settle in. You can't get a barking dog stopped. There was a guy in Colorado years ago, got tired of a woman with 2 toy poodles, yapping all the time. He did the neighborly thing, tried to talk to her, called animal control. Nothing was done. Can't sleep in his own house. And if you didn't know, I believe that people in their own homes have a right to peace and quiet. But the law isn't about that anymore, unless you're in a filthy rich neighborhood. Guy took some ground beef, laced it with antifreeze, and rolled them under the fence. Dogs got sick. And of course, they wanted to know what caused it, and the vet found antifreeze in them, and they were able to ascertain that the neighbor did it. And it was interesting reading in the Denver Post years ago that the women were really angry that a man would try to harm these dogs. I don't mean to be rude, but I find it interesting that in our culture today, even in biblical culture, dogs, pigs, they were considered unclean animals. Dogs were an annoyance back then. And Americans have elevated them to the status of a child. People refer to their dogs as their children, their babies, their family. You want my opinion? That's mental disorders. I have my problems, but the more I look at society around me, I go, you know what? I'm not so bad off. When I think of the ridiculous thinking in this culture, Facebook is getting worse and worse. When I do videos on Facebook, it is muting them. Zuckerberg came up with his geekster, typical corporate, boring, let's call it the metaverse. Wow, that's just so inspiring. Not. And I get this warning on every video I make. Meta does not have rights to this music in certain countries. There's no music on this video, Zuckerberg and team. I did a video on Rumble the other day talking about Facebook's insane censorship. Their so-called fact-checking. 10 months ago, they went to court and they admitted in court, the Facebook representatives said, well, they're their opinions. Oh, but you shut down anybody that disagrees with your opinion. I just had a video censored right here because I used GLOBALWARMING
and COVID-19 said I was giving medical disinformation. I did not. I didn't make any medical pronouncements. Google, YouTube, Twitter before Musk, Facebook, all work for the left. All work for the socialist manifesto narrative. That's why I've slid over to Rumble. They still allow freedom of speech. It's interesting, there's ads on Facebook showing a black woman telling people to get out and vote. We need to stand against the Republicans fighting against our rights. In Georgia, Brian Kemp, the governor, passed a law that would require people to have voter ID. They can only vote once. Dead people can't vote. And the black community came out and said, oh, this is Jim Crow laws. Georgia has had record turnout because of early voting and everything. Stacey Abrams, a sore loser that lost to Kemp, is running again. And it's looking like she'll lose again. Somebody made a comment about her that was apropos on one of the YouTube videos I watched today. She's in denial about the election, but she's definitely not in denial about eating at McDonald's because she's quite large. It's interesting. We live in a country where it's okay to be racist against whites. But if you speak facts about African Americans, you're a racist. Isn't that interesting? Google, which owns YouTube, is censoring the hell out of anything that disagrees with what they call science. Google staff, YouTube staff, Facebook staff are not scientists. They're tech geeks. And this leftist dogma encourages and promotes everybody to go to college. And of course, Biden wants to forgive all the student loans because Biden and the Democrats are always doing things to buy votes to keep their corrupt party intact. This is not my opinion. That's a bona fide fact. You let the illegals come in, you got automatic Democrat voters. You forgive all the student debt, students are going to, oh, I don't have to pay back $100,000. These colleges and universities charge gargantuan sums of money, and you get a piece of paper, and you have to personally pay out of your pocket for years of brainwashing in liberal arts education. I would hope that every Christian school and every Catholic school and every religious school out there would sue Joe Biden, say, okay, then you need to forgive our tuition for Christian colleges and universities. And if they wanted to push this issue, they could go to the Supreme Court with this and say, you cannot discriminate based on religious beliefs. This is the dumbest president I've ever seen in my years of living on this earth. The most ridiculous inept administration, from Kamala Harris to AOC, who has more substance in her tits than she does in her brain. People that I respect, Paul Joseph Watson, have been demonetized on Facebook. My posts are removed lower in the feed for 28 days. What did I do? I took screenshots of men butt fucking women posts on Facebook. They're still there. And I posted a screenshot. I said, this is an example of Facebook harassment against conservatives and singling out individuals. I reported on this post, and I took a screenshot of Facebook says, we did not remove the post. And they give 4 reasons, there's 3 or 4 reasons. One of those is, we don't have time to look at all this. Really? But how come the second something I put goes up, it is boom? An attorney, if we had our ducks in a row and we got an attorney, we could sue Google, YouTube, Facebook for millions of dollars. You get enough people into it, you go into the billions and do a class action. They are violating rights given to us by the Constitution. It has been stated that in Poland fines Facebook $1,500 every time they censor somebody's free speech. Because Poland says if you want to be in our airspace, you're going to abide by our rules. Zuckerberg bought $400 million in voting machines. I thought those were provided by the US government. Why is Zuckerberg buying voting machines? We got people starving. We got people losing their jobs. 2020 especially. While Nancy Pelosi's running around with a towel wrapped around her head and no mask on, got caught on a camera, and she comes back and can't speak properly. She sounds like she's drunk. Dishy, just shut up. Now her husband's been attacked by a hammer, and I could care less. Why should I care that Pelosi's poor husband got hit with a hammer? Did you hear all the facts in this case? This is Pelosi's friend, this DePappy or whatever his name is. Makes me wonder if they were doing some sexual, weird, kinky stuff. Why would a man like Pelosi be having a guy like this over? A nudist, flying BLM flags, living in a bus, and in fact, holding the ideals of the Democrat Party. But listen to within 5 minutes of getting attacked, I'm being facetious, but Pelosi, the wife, comes out and says, this is on the heels of GOP hatred. Now, I don't like the Pelosi's. I don't like Nancy. I don't respect her. But Nancy Pelosi is responsible for the murder of 61 million people by her policies allowing abortion. And she wants to talk about the GOP hatred. Biden wants to call GOP fascist. Yet the Democratic Party is the biggest killing machine. And the black people who keep voting Democrat are ignorant of people like Margaret Sanger, who was a white woman who was racist, who hated blacks, and was the mother of modern-day Planned Parenthood. She wanted to remove the scourge of black people from the earth. You never saw blacks protesting that. You never saw blacks protesting that Charles Darwin, in Origin of the Species, little black box, says the blacks are an inferior race. You never saw them. But instead, they want to push over Robert E. Lee statues, Christopher Columbus, and tear up everything over Floyd, a man who was a drug addict, a man who held a gun to a pregnant woman's belly. You didn't hear one peep from the black community that he held a gun to a pregnant black woman's belly as he's robbing her house. But let a white man hold a gun to a black woman's pregnant belly, CNN will report on it for the next 50 years. Racial politics. Most of the racism today is coming from the left. Most of the racism, there is more of a percentage of racism coming from the black community towards whites than there are whites towards blacks. My express opinion based on what I've seen. You can have racist ads. I had a woman pull up my house. I'm raking the yard. I said, hi. She asked if somebody lived here. I said, no. I said, I still get the mail for that lady, but she doesn't live here. Oh, I just wanted to come out and get the vote out. I wanted her to get out and vote. One of my friends who's black said, I think I'm going to go around. They're paying us to go out and get black people to vote. And I said to my friend, I said, do you think they'd let me do that? Well, probably not because you're white. It's okay for blacks to discriminate. It's okay for blacks to get out the black vote. How about all the vote? How about the blacks going to white people's door and say, hey, we just want to encourage you to get out and vote? Oh, no. That's not going to happen. Did you hear Biden's dumbass speech last night? Midterm or a State of the Union address saying democracy is threatened. Didn't you hear Pelosi say that? I believe democracy was threatened the minute these clowns took power. Did you see black people waltzing in and out of major department stores in San Francisco, Pelosi's district? As long as they don't steal $900 worth of stuff. But let a man who owns that business sit at the entrance of that store with an AK-47 and a magazine clip around him. Say, you go out that store with my stuff, I'm going to blow your legs off. Oh, no, he'll go to jail. He'll be charged with murder. Man can't get to sleep because it's 3 Dog Night. Yep, 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 yep. And you want to go, but you can't do that. This country is so freaking stupid. The laws are no longer for good people. There's nothing that good people can do. We can pray, and God in the end will straighten it all out. But America's stuck on a downhill slide. And even if the conservatives win the midterms, guess what? Look at the news lately. Republicans are ahead by 1% on this race and 2% on this. That's it. That's it. The last 2 years of you getting pimped at the pumps, your food, go to the store. When I go to the store, my food went from this when I moved here to this. Building materials, 2x4s, plywood went from here to here. My property taxes have gone up. My utilities are going up. And is my paycheck going up? No, I took a pay cut. And just for those of you that know me, I'm no longer driving a school bus. I'm not going to state what I do now, but I am working with the public. But I took a pay cut, and I didn't get fired. But I needed to make a change. The kids these days are horrible, horribly disrespectful. 99% of these kids that are bad kids come from anti-Trump, anti-conservative, anti-white families. At least in the region of the country I'm in. Candace Owens was reading the lyrics to a new Cardi B song. Absolutely horrible. I'm not even going to read them here because I can't remember it. I go down to one of the nightclubs to sing and dance. Last night, I wasn't there, but a bit of time, one guy was telling me that he's a gangbanger and still in a gang since 13. I said, you know what? Dude, I don't want to listen to this shit. You can get out of that. God can deliver you. I don't want to listen to this. I came here to listen to music. A couple friends I have down there, it just hit me. You ever notice the word diversity? The DJs that we have here are black, and they play all black music. Even the regular rock and roll radio stations play Michael Jackson, Prince, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, as well as a-ha and U2 and Duran Duran. I find that diversity exists more with us whites than does with the black community at large. It's obvious. A lot of the people that I work with, they only listen to their music. You go on their Facebook, it's black people. They'll post 9,000 videos of a baby girl in a diaper twerking her butt in front of the TV. I'm like, oh, that's just great. That's awesome. You're passing the baton of this culture that's circling the drain to your kids. And you know why we have a dumb voting public? Because they're more enamored with Next American Idol. They're more enamored with mindless, raw entertainment. I was down at a nightclub last night. I get my club soda because I don't drink. I'm friends with some of the bartenders, watching the TV, and there's a show called Ridiculousness, some pretty interesting stuff. Let's ride a bike down the stairs. And then when somebody comes through the door that you're going to ride through and you swerve and you slam into the metal post, and the stupid stuff that people do. You look at views on YouTube. You look at what gets lots and lots of views. It's sick. Cardi B trash music, ghetto class music, big amounts of views, millions and millions. Me talking, a conservative talking, somebody talking about things that are more cerebral, way down in the feed. Even the Google search engines will bury anything that has to do with truth. Google's been a dominant bully for a while now. Barged into your computer. Even the computer I got is a Google Chromebook. Big tech is swallowing up everything. Look at the liberals get mad when Elon Musk took over Twitter. They're angry. How hypocritical. They get to control the feed. They get control the narrative. They kicked a president off of there. The FBI raided that president's home, whether you agree with Trump or not. This guy has been unfairly maligned. People constantly come to me, what about January 6th? What about it? You had some assholes act up and go to the Capitol. Whether they were all Trump supporters or not, I don't know. I'm sure some were. And they should be punished. But should they be punished any more than the 2020 rioters, which far exceeded numbers, far exceeded monetary damage, far exceeded number of deaths, and damage to city, county, federal, and personal property in the billions and billions of dollars? The Democrats didn't say a word about those riots, did they now? But meanwhile, Gavin Newsom, who's banned the sale of electric cars, gas-powered vehicles, effective 2035, and lawnmowers and leaf blowers, he struts into a French fungal cafe with his wife and an entourage, a medical professional, all of them without their masks, so that he could buy himself a $300 truffle dinner. Only in America do we have a large percentage of people, the brains aren't functioning properly. You vote in these politicians. They're filthy rich. They do whatever they want. Nancy Pelosi said anybody who walks through her house, meaning the House of Representatives, which it is not her house, but she's on a power-hungry trip. The woman's in her 80s. Her husband's a drunk. We saw that dog and pony show with the car wreck. If that had been me or any of you guys, it would have been handled with kid gloves the way this was. The FBI is in Hillary Clinton's back pocket. The FBI didn't do anything about the Hunter thing. They're not doing anything. They said recently, oh, we got enough to charge them. Oh, but let's wait till the midterms are over. Everybody at the FBI needs to be shit canned. The U.S. House of Representatives, the best thing can do is become conservative and get Nancy Pelosi the hell out of there. But let me ask you something. Even if we win the House and the Senate by 1 or 2 seats, how far do you think we're going to get? The fact that there are so many people in this country that like ghetto, thug life culture, violent video games, crappy music, and trash society in general, how long are we going to be a powerful nation? Our military is more concerned with looking down their pants. Am I a boy or am I a girl today? Do I have a vagina or do I have a penis? Scary, isn't it? Very scary. My time is near on Facebook. My time is near on YouTube. That's why I've already made other initiatory paths to other domains. I personally believe in the book of Revelation that God is going to wind up human history and he will bring all the nations in judgment for the wrongs they've done to him. And all this foolishness will eventually end. But it's going to get worse before it gets better. And people have accused me of being racist. No, I'm not. I've danced with black women. I've dated black women. I work with black women and black men. Many of them I respect. We get along. But we cannot talk about politics. They've been bought and owned by the Democrat left. You know, the party that kept them in slavery, the party that supported the Jim Crow laws, the party that formed the KKK. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? We actually have people living in America that are anti-American, anti-constitutional. My question is, why would they want to be here? Stacey Abrams says Georgia's terrible, the U.S. is terrible. Really? But you're a millionaire. And you've obviously gotten enough to eat. And you're going to come and run for politics for what reason? Because you're on a power trip. That's what bothers me. That would be like an ambassador or a leader of another country saying, Pacific, we welcome you to live here. We'll help you get a job. We'll help you get established. And then I spend the entire rest of my life railing against that country, railing against those people. How jacked up that would be. And I've told people, if there was another country that wanted me to come over there, I was thinking with Poland, finding Facebook $1,500 refraction, I'm starting to think maybe I should live in Poland. I like that they're standing up to these bully techniques of the left. Now, I had screenshotted one page after another of nudity, inappropriate sexuality, every single one. Facebook came back and said, we did not remove the post due to a high volume of, but whenever Pacific posts something, medical disinformation, our fact checkers found that this is false. You posted nudity. I posted a screenshot of the page, Facebook, your Facebook page. Look at it, morons. Tech geeks, so smart, can earn billions of dollars, but common rational sense look at the post and saying, hey, Pacific posted something that's on one of our Facebook pages. You better not post that. You better not come after him against that. You better find that page, see it, and then react. Facebook's got some sort of machines doing this now. Jeff Bezos of Amazon has machines doing virtually everything. I've had several friends work for Amazon. Everybody's complained about it. There's a few people who said they loved it, but it's a sweatshop offering decent pay, select your schedule type thing. But Bezos doesn't care if you're there for 5 years or 5 minutes. You don't have to give 2 weeks notice. You can log out on your phone and say, I'm done. Then you can reapply and come back. Bezos doesn't care about people. But Pacific, he gives people jobs that are very temporal. Our society is not interested in you getting 20, 25 years in a place anymore. You used to get good benefits. You used to get good retirement packages. Those are all but gone unless you work for the big giant. You know what's sad is the people who make the most money are the people that are the least needed. The entertainment industry, the football, the pro sports, the pop culture. I remember when Jerry Springer came out, And people actually sit around and watch that. True definition of crap television. You can't get your sleep. You can't have peace in your house because of barking dogs. You can call animal control. They want you to sign something. Then you get subpoenaed to go to court. And after you go to court, if the judge is liberal, and the judge in this case was white, I had video, I had notes, I had dates, no fines, nothing. He said, you better get control of those dogs because I can do that for you today. And then the whiny, snivelly liberal, we and my daughter live in the trailer. We don't even own a gun. And people broke in people broke into your burned house. That's a lie. Nobody's broke into that house. And you want to know what they said? This is the mentality. The woman said, I've lived in my house 38 years, and he bought his 3 years ago. And what is your point? That means you got the right to shit on the whole neighborhood? My neighbor, who's black, hears all that and doesn't like it. My two neighbors over here, wife, husband, and their daughter, they're white. They don't like all that. They have a dog. I can hear the muffled dog bark in the house sometimes when I'm outside. The police have backed up. Society's backed up. You see a lot of blacks getting away with a lot of stuff. And people who want to call you racist for just stating the facts. Racism is a word that's been used as a billy club. No one wants to be stigmatized with that. So white people are speaking out less and less. They cower, they cringe. What's sad is that enough people in this country have not stood up and gotten a deja vu. I could have had a V8 and not having that moment to overwhelmingly red wave over this foolishness. We're begging for one more seat to gain control. But how long will that last? 4 years? You have to change the media culture. You have to change the public education culture. People pride themselves on getting an education. The only way your education counts for anything is if it's a liberal arts school. What I endorse is trade tech, vo-tech, hands-on, without all liberal arts and socialistic BS. You can learn HVAC, electrician, journeyman, apprentice plumbers. Those are good things to get into. Reasonably priced to get your training, get out there and get a job. You spend $100,000 or more in college, you want to go for an attorney. And I had an attorney years ago in Colorado working on a situation that I had to get legal help on. And he brought up the discussion. I didn't bring up politics or anything. He said, most attorneys are Democrat. I said, they are? Oh, yeah. Why do people vote for people like Newsom, who's literally been a boa constrictor against the great state of California, allowing the illegals to pour in? And he had somebody arrested for kayaking in the Pacific Ocean during the COVID lockdowns. And that's silly. They're all worried about social distancing, but the police and all the people are right up there, up arresting the guy. But then when 2020 came, what was funny is that millions of people running around tearing stuff up, no masks, no social distancing, and the Democrat Party was completely silent about that. Notice the people of color, the Obamas, Maxine Waters, Oprah, none of them come out and said, hey, this is wrong. Remember up there in Wisconsin, the Christmas parades, and a black guy who had angry rap music and had anti-white stuff all over his life takes his SUV and was deliberately running and swerving into people lined up on a parade route. Did the white people go and burn down the black sectors of those towns? Did you ever see Republicans go and riot and tear stuff up? But listen to the hypocrisy of the left. Listen to how they yelled and screamed about January 6th. Okay, Democrat fools, tell me how many people are involved in that. Tell me how many of these people that were involved in that were good, solid citizens through and through. You know, I'll be the first to tell you, where I live, we got Confederate flag waving fools down here that are redneck as hell. They may be conservative, but they're not the kind of people I want as neighbors. They're not the kind of people that I want to hang with. There's always going to be bad lunatic fringe in any group. If I walked into the Capitol, I dress very casually, but I would walk in there with a degree of seriousness. I wouldn't walk in there with some stupid mentality, touching things, busting things, because of what it represents. I don't personally believe that Donald Trump called for that insurrection. Pelosi is milking the cow. She hates Donald Trump because Donald Trump called them the swamp. That's what really set them off. Madonna, who's made millions of dollars with her decadent lifestyle, and I like some of her music. I like the music Vogue. I like La Isla Bonita. I like a lot of Madonna songs, but as a person, not somebody that is a political scientist or expert that I'm going to go to. She's not a mentor of anything cerebral that I'm going to look up to. Madonna lived her selfish, decadent life and did whatever she pleased. And after Trump won, she makes a comment, I feel like blanking up the White House. If Trump was such a tyrant, Hitler style, why did he ever arrested? The left called Trump Hitler, and ever since the left has been in power after Trump, they've done nothing but SS brown shirt Gestapo style moves against the American public. Lockdowns, shutdowns, mask ups, screaming and yelling that we will have to get vaccines. They loved that. I still believe that this whole mess was created on purpose by leaders of America and China. And they had one intent with that. Rush Limbaugh died and the left celebrated. Michael Jackson dies and the funeral went on and the mourning and stuff went on for over a month. Prince died and how sad. A rapper, Aaron something, died. How sad. But let somebody who's smart, who tries to warn us about foolishness, die, and the left is, yes. They kill 61 million children, but they put dogs on a pedestal and call them family. And conservative women are guilty of that. The dog OCD in America, to me, is synonymous with a mental deficiency. That is not just my opinion. I believe that. I've had a love for pets. I cried when my cat died years ago. But to put pets on a level of calling them people, children, my babies, the rising cost of everything, and yet people still got to have these barking, obnoxious, irritating dogs. And our police and our laws, they don't protect us. We're antagonized, we're angered, we're provoked. And anybody in the US that does anything or takes matters in their own hands, it's lights out for you. You try to do the right thing, stand on the laws of the land. I'm not making this up. Anybody in their right mind listening that's got a half an ounce of cerebral intellectualism can see this. I think DeSantis does an awesome job in Florida. There's a man of action. Cargo ships all stacked up off the coast of California. Newsom, Biden, doing nothing. They don't care. My uncle told me years ago the Democratic Party's mentality is, I got mine, screw you. If they really believe in socialism, the Obamas, Biden, please take a look at their bank accounts. Look at the size of Obama's 40-bedroom mansion in Martha's Vineyard. Remember, this is his wife, Michelle Obama, said that whites are privileged. Really? I get to live in a mansion on Martha's Vineyard. No, I bought a ghetto house and I'm about 75%. Single-handedly tore out every wall, everything, replacing studs, replacing sheetrock, doing plumbing, doing electric. I've had some help that I've paid, but most of this, 99% of it, I've done myself. These people never lifted a finger of hard labor in their damn life. They're promoting socialism. The food is disappearing off shelves. We've had supplies dry up. The Mississippi River's in a major drought. There's Civil War relics showing up. Lake Mead, Lake Powell, 130 feet below normal, feeding big cities like Vegas. Is anybody talking about, Vegas, where you can go and gamble your life away? If that lake runs dry, they're going to have a problem. Vegas is in the middle of the desert. Americans are bright, Let's put a major city as far away from water as you can. And when the only reservoirs you got are starting to dry up, what are you going to do when you turn on your faucet and dust comes out? You have a logistical nightmare. Now you got to move all those people. A city shutting down and becoming a ghost town. All those big casinos with all their lights and pizzazz and buffets and shows and Cirque du Soleil and whatever. Can you hear the approaching thunder? Can you see the lightning in the distance? Because the storm's coming. When 2020 dawned, I had no idea that I would be talking about this kind of thing. Do I want the red wave to win? Of course. But until I see Americans wake up and confront this garbage culture that we're living in, and confront the mentality that, well, this guy has a 1% lead over this guy. So you Democrats still want your bank accounts greatly reduced. I live in a county that's dirt poor, and these people keep voting in Democrat. And I've looked at them, I said, you want to keep paying more for gas and have less take-home pay? Keep voting in these clowns. Keep drinking the Kool-Aid of CNN, the three-letter networks. Ernie presents the letter C and N. The networks are no longer reliable and professional journalism. It's even worse than Soviet-era KGB-controlled TV. The media works for the Democratic Party. Google, YouTube, Facebook work for the Democratic Party. And to hear people like Pelosi talk about democracy is laughable. All these Democrats lived as greedy capitalist pigs. Pelosi's got her fingers in chip technology. That's why she put her middle finger to China and went to Taiwan. And you know what's ironic? I was half expecting China to take a shot at her airplane. They could have done it with ease. They could have picked it up and blown it out of the sky. How come they didn't? Pacific, do you support that? I don't support that, but it would have been a fitting response to her. 61 million people killed under her. We're all supposed to feel sorry for her husband getting hit with a hammer. And when the police arrived, he was calm. And he was hit on the hammer. After that, the glass on the broken window was outside, not inside. What was Pelosi doing? His wife's gone. Was he doing nudie tricks with the pappy? But the left wasted no time. Biden, Obama, all the old clowns are going to come back and start blowing their little stupid party favor horns. Hey, Stone Mountain. I was there when I was 2 years old, but I don't remember it. I'm not going to be ashamed to say the Republican Party has its problems. Mitch McConnell and these old turtles in there need to go out. They have had no balls. They have had no, I want to say something. I'd rather have the Republicans in there than the Democrats. We're a two-party system. It's too bad. Some libertarians that I've heard actually have had some great ideas. They'll never win. All they do is dilute the vote. I don't support abortion. I do not support the excessive greed and filthy rich bank accounts of the left who got their mansions and are pushing electric cars. Isn't that awesome? What are we going to do with my truck and everybody's vehicle out there that's not electric when we just shut off the gas? What are we going to do? All these people that got bank loans for financing on these cars, the bank going to say, well, they cut off the gas, you don't have to pay. You think that's going to happen? Is Biden going to step in and offer to pay your car loan off? This is the foolishness that exists in this country. I've ranted many times in the past over American women and feminization. That's a no-brainer. White women are some of the most immature out of all the ethnicities out there. I listen to Motown when I go down to the club. Shoot pool, dance some, chat with my friends. Last night I left early. At a certain time in the evening, we're playing the songs with the F word and the Nigger word, and I don't want to listen to that. I like SOS Band, Gap Band, Diana Ross. I like a lot of the good stuff that Black people brought to the music scene. And believe me, their contribution to the music scene is massive. But Black culture isn't the only one that's taken a dive. White culture has as well. Beyonce and others. I find myself going back. Horse with No Name, Led Zeppelin, All of My Love, song that he sung about the loss of his son. Stevie Nicks, Rooms on Fire, Gypsy, Rihanna. Good stuff. You listen to the music today, there's no band, there's no lyrical content. This has even swept the churches in our culture. 7-Eleven's courses, same 7 words 11 times. Church culture's even bought into the woke generation. We don't want to offend anybody. We just want to attract everybody to church. Whatever happened to the old hellfire and brimstone messages? Those are gone. Let's legalize weed in every state. Why is America the biggest producer of porn? I'll tell you why. Men can no longer have intimacy anymore because we've been cock-blocked by American women. Men have a sex drive that doesn't just dry up and go away like Lake Mead and Lake Powell do. So what do? Look at porn. Unless if you're one of those marvelous men that has been able to walk out your faith in such a way to finally quit looking at it and quit thinking immoral thoughts. I have a friend in Missouri. He says, I've been a virgin. I can't get a date. I said, God's going to reward you for being a virgin. Don't ever look down on yourself for that. I wish I could say I was a virgin. I was married, so I'm not a virgin, but I wish I could say I was moral in all of my moral purity. I'm not. I'm a sinner saved by grace, and God is not done with me yet. In Georgia, we've got a runoff for Senate with Herschel Walker and Warnock. Warnock is a buffoon. Pastor makes $120,000 a year. Relentless attacking Herschel Walker. These slick ads. He threatened to shoot his wife, shoot out with the cops. Warnock coming off like Warnock ran over his ex-wife's foot with his car. His ex-wife was very bold in saying, don't believe him. He's a real good hustler. There was video that came out showing the apartment properties that Mr. Warnock owns, and he's a slumlord. Yes, he is the pro-abortion pastor. And what's ironic about is that he says the Bible defends abortion. And I've read the Bible cover to cover. There's a couple things that Warnock hasn't paid attention to. And one of those is somewhere, I believe it's in Proverbs. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. And one of those things is hands that shed innocent blood. Now, if you follow the argument of the Apostle Paul in the New Testament, where he gets into Romans and gets into this deep theology, he says, in Adam all die, and Christ all live. So if Christ considers us a sinner once we're born into this world, who's innocent blood? Was that talking about Christ being crucified on the cross because he was without sin? It could be. But I think that what that's talking about, and let me, before I give an explanation of that, let's go back to the Old Testament law where God says if 2 men are fighting and there's a pregnant woman there and one of the men gets knocked into her or whatever, and as a result, that child in her dies, that man was to be stoned for that. So did God care about the so-called unborn? Oh, you bet she did. But let's go back. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 are detestable to him. And one of those items is hands that shed innocent blood. Okay, according to the Apostle Paul, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So who didn't sin? How do you shed innocent blood? Why is that mentioned in there? There's abortion right there. you injure and kill a pregnant woman with her baby, or the baby gets killed. God doesn't smile at that. And then you wonder why these women in this culture are so jaded and mean and nasty. Look at Madonna's song years ago, Material Girl. The older I get, I can clearly, without any struggle, see that most of the white females in our culture are mentally deranged. Good white women are taken. They have stable husbands, they have good kids. Good white women are taken. But a lot of white women are Karens. I was noticing in 2020, the term Karen came into full manifestation. And what's really interesting about that, it wasn't black women, it wasn't Asian women, it wasn't Mexican women, it was all white women that were Karens. And I, on my own, came to the conclusion, my opinion, based on years and years of looking at this, white women are more susceptible to bipolar, the need for meds, antidepressants. Well, what's going on genetically with white women? But is it genetics or is it environment? Is it the feminist environment? Is it the public education environment? Is it that white men, and I quote MGTOW, simps, red pill, blue pill, all that? Absolutely. Absolutely. We men have given them way too much adoration, almost putting them on the order of God and almost a form of worship. We almost forgot that they fart and smell just like everybody else. Things are bad in this country, really bad. I no longer just fixate on women, though that's a big part of my bump out here. Back to Warnock, defending abortion. He's anti Semitic. He said Palestinian lives matter, showing his ignorance. The Palestinians was a mess created by Yasser Arafat. Remember, he got the Nobel Peace Prize? Wasn't that hilarious? Yasser Arafat getting the Nobel Peace Prize some years ago. We live in a goofy world. When America values dogs more than a child in the womb, and I'm not going to call it an infant or a fetus, it's a child in the womb. God said in Jeremiah, for you are fearfully, or Jeremiah says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Before I was in the womb, you knew me. God doesn't treat this abortion with laissez, casual, oh well, like a woman who accidentally bumps into you and knocks your glasses off and they fall to the floor and, oh, I'm sorry. No, God doesn't look at it that way. Are we devoid of good leadership because of all the babies that have been killed? Very well could be. If I understand the Bible correctly, there's 61 million people that went straight into the presence of God when they were aborted. How do I know that? David, when he sinned with Bathsheba, he fasted and prayed that God would not take his son through Bathsheba. His servants came to him and said the child has died. He gets up, washes his face, and prepares a feast. His servant says, wait a minute, you fasted and prayed, now the child's dead, and now you're, what's the deal? David said, I fasted and prayed that God might spare his life, but now that the child is gone, I can go to where he is. Huh? A hint? But hey, we got people like Randy Alcorn, who writes a book on heaven, saying that our pets will be up there. Isn't that great? There's nowhere in the Bible that hints that pets go to heaven. Ecclesiastes talks about the man's spirit goes upward and the animal spirit goes downward into the earth. Animals don't have a soul. When they die, they die. That's it. Does that mean we disregard animals and trample all over them? No. But when we have a society putting dogs over people minding their own business, and what an irritating animal to have as a pet. People use them as damn burglar alarms. I get that. But a baby's an inconvenience in these pro-abortionist mind. But when the whole neighborhood is under siege by some irresponsible woman with the dogs barking nonstop anywhere USA, and no one can or will do anything about it, what kind of a country are we living in? I don't like what's happening to our country. I don't like that we're living in a country that's coming off the rails. I don't like the fact that I and everybody else I know feels completely helpless to change this. We're hearing hints over and over of a one world government. Look at the Democrats and how angry they got at Russia. Tell me how the Democrats are any different than the old Soviets. They are not. So what is their issue with Putin? Putin ain't worried about saving gas. He ain't worried about going green. He ain't worried about playing your little game. Putin, in his own way, is saying to the rest of the world, and can I be honest with you? I don't support Putin in Russia. But there's a part of me that says America should have done the same thing a long time ago. I would never be leader. I'd never be leader. I'd be attacked viciously in the press, and they'd never vote me in. But if I was, and I had unilateral support of the House and the Senate, the UN has got to go. You sell that building, you tear it down and take it piece by piece with you, get out. We don't want to be a part of this. United Nations is part of that good old building of the one world government. That's what Zuckerberg, Bezos, and it's funny, all these people, you look at every corrupt government in the world, the communists, Stalin, Lenin, all these people, Kim Jong-un, they keep half their people in starvation, waiting in line to get a potato and a can of beans in the old Soviet USSR. I was listening to The Fix the other day. Red Skies at Night, one of my favorite songs. I said, man, I remember in the 80s when we thought Russia was going to push the button. I'm listening to a song realizing Russia could push the button again. And people say, oh, that's not going to happen. Really? Is there anywhere in the Bible that shows America alive and well? Does it even hint at America at all? But there are countries that are mentioned in Bible prophecy. They were different names years ago, but they point at Russia, Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 and 39. Netanyahu just got reelected in Israel. I think that's awesome. But Russia's very angry at Israel. Iran's sending drones into Ukraine. And why did the Democrats suddenly get into defending the Ukraine? Well, Hunter Biden was making big money and paying it to daddy over there, and Hunter Biden was doing backdoor deals with China. But why are the Democrats against Russia? Hillary Clinton was selling them plutonium, wasn't she? Wasn't Barack Obama selling missiles to China? The Democrats have undone the bra straps of this country again and again and again. But I'll even go on. George Bush, us being involved in NAFTA, all these different things that just dwindled and weakened America's economy. No longer is it made in the USA. They all shipped out. China's paid slave labor wages. We get a cheaper product, but we pay more for it. And we built China's military. We built their industrial revolution. And China's at a point now where they could say, bye, Felicia. The Chinese monetary system can dominate over us. Russia's going to invade Israel. Ezekiel 38 and 39 states it. It's just a matter of when. It's interesting that Biden is all about go green, but then he tells our enemy nations, Venezuela and Iran, can you step up production? Going to the enemy to get oil. But we won't drill it here. Shut down the pipeline, shut down the refineries, shut down offshore drilling. Really? Is Biden riding around in an electric charged limo? Is Nancy Pelosi flying electric charged jets? Look at their bank accounts.
Look at their houses. Are they living? Elizabeth Warren claimed to be Native American. Is she living in a teepee in the middle of the Great Plains, carving arrowheads? No. If people don't model what they're pushing on you, run and get away from them and discredit their message. This is something that the Democrat voters have not learned. And when the Democrats get all these ethnic groups under their control, and these ethnic groups keep blindly following the left, if the Democrats were allowed to get all the power they want, they will turn on them as well and go right back to the way it was in the slave days. Do you think I'm joking? It disappoints me what's happening in Georgia. I moved here because it's a red state. We're so close to going blue. It's scary. Blue is not good for any state. The Democratic Party is babies. Nancy Pelosi's tearing up the State of the Union address like a toddler on national display, a copy of it. You want that in government? AOC is afraid of garbage disposal. AOC is a bartender. She was voted by stupid New Yorkers to be a politician. Has no background in it. Even utters the classic feminized. I hope you're right about that, but I heard it's so close that we can't tell. Oh, Stacey Abrams, yeah. My bad. I'm thinking of Warnock and Herschel Walker. I did early voting. I voted for Walker, and I voted for Kemp because, and this is where Trump is wrong. He turned against Kemp. Do I believe there was something illegal in the votes? There's enough doubt in my mind that, especially in Detroit and other places, that the Democrats were doing the vote counting. They wouldn't let anybody else in there. And that needs to stop. They need bipartisan, both groups of people to come in, watching over each other, counting the votes both ways. Votes were thrown in dumpsters. There was all kinds of things going on. Yeah, I hate that. If we gain the seat for Georgia, Arizona is another disappointment. I graduated high school in Arizona. I hope Kari Lake wins. I'm not a big fan of Kari Lake, but she's running on the Republican ticket, so of course I'm going to put my hat in for that. New York, under Democratic leadership, people are leaving New York City. People are exiting the state. Hopefully they'll pick up some conservative stuff up that way. But apparently it hasn't hurt bad enough to get these Democratic voters secured off the nipple of the liberal breast. And that is what it is. You don't hear me talk often about politics, but I have no choice to. Conservatives are not a danger to the country. Liberalism is. Now we have to be tolerant of transgenders. We have to have his and hers bathrooms removed. And guess what? Right after Target did that in Southern North Carolina, then men were going in dressed as women so they could perv on little girls. And I agree with men and said, no way in hell is my daughter going to go in a bathroom and some man dressed as a woman is going to go in there. Rules are made for a reason. Absolutes are made for a reason. Why are the Democrats doing all this? Why are they stirring the racial pot? Because they want mayhem and destruction. They want us to feel threatened. Remember the Minneapolis City Council? Remember them? Talk about dum-dums. Minnesota's liberal and stupid anyway. And I lived up there. Some crazy thinking up there. One of the city councils people said that safety is a form of racism, security. Really? Me wanting security is a form of racism? excuse me, I know some black people I work with that don't like all the crime. Where I live, black on black violence is constant every freaking day in this area and across the Savannah River into South Carolina. It is ridiculous. How's that Democrat Party working for achieving making the blacks better people? Why don't you talk to good old Lightfoot up there in Chicago? Black on black violence has screamed to the highest levels ever. How about President Biden's spokeswoman? I'm black and I'm a lesbian. Wow, thank you. That really comforts me that you're the first black lesbian to be a spokesperson. Thank you so much. You give me complete confidence in your. She belongs on some ditzy TV show. Sesame Street is too deep for her. Seriously. They say we're going to get the House. We're not sure of the Senate. We've got to get both. We can't just get the House because the Senate has powers that the House doesn't. Five days, we'll know. Biden's little speech last night saying that Republican MAGA, make America great again. What was wrong with that? If Trump runs, I'll vote for him. It doesn't matter who runs. Anybody who runs. And did you hear Biden put down DeSantis? DeSantis stood up against Disney. Since when are we going to let Disney determine state politics? When are we going to let Hollywood people who sex, drugs, and rock and roll and exorbitant bank accounts going to tell us the way politically things should be? Putin is smarter than every single person in the Democrat Party right now. Now, I don't agree with Putin, but Biden is not as smart as Putin. This president has created global instability and created danger to the U.S. big time. When Trump was at the helm, he met Rocket Man, the first president to actually meet him. The Democrats criticized that. Right after he met him, Kim Jong-un didn't shoot off any more missiles. Now he's shooting off missiles, and one came dangerously close to Japan the other day or something. They had to evacuate. I love the diss talking that goes on by the left. It's laughable. Stacey Abrams screaming and yelling about people are being forbidden the right to vote. No, you can't campaign right at the ballot lines and pester people. You can't cast 2 or 3 ballots. You have to have voter ID. Why is the Democrat Party offended with that? You have to have an ID to get a license. You have to have an ID to get insurance. You have to have ID to open up a bank account. And they want that for voting. Why is that such a big thing? Because the Democrats want to do everything illegal. They want the illegals in so that they get more votes. They want to forgive student debt so they get more votes. I just talked to somebody recently who has a gay friend who said, I've left the Democratic Party because I'm getting tired of them thinking that they own the LGBT. There's gay and lesbian people. I met lesbian black women down here that voted for Trump. Isn't that interesting? Democrats like to put everything in a nice, neat little box. Yes. And I actually got vaccinated with the Johnson. They pulled it from the shelves, so
waiting to see if I have any side effects down the road. 2 months later, I got COVID and it knocked me on my butt. I did not go to the hospital, but I had days of fever and lost about 20, 25 pounds, my skinny self. I really thought I was going to die. My loss of appetite. I was sipping fruit juice. I couldn't drink water. Then I'd have some of those veggie chips that are natural. That's the first time I ever, in many, many years, that I actually missed work. Thank God I've built up all my sick days. I think I have 127 hours of sick days. I thought COVID was a farce. I thought it was manufactured. I got it 2 months after the vaccine. I still have acquaintances and workplace buddies that they're getting every booster that comes out. Did you get COVID? Yeah, I got COVID. So the booster stopping any of this? So I got the little card because I figured the only reason I went to go get vaccinated was not out of fear. I thought, I'll be damned if these people are going to tell me I can't go to the Philippines or go to Africa or go to some country I want to go to because I don't have a vaccination. Now I don't see that being pushed anymore. The Democrats used that for political gain. Did you hear what Trudeau said up there in Canada? Smiling. This is the Great Reset. The Great Reset of what, Trudeau? Screwing with people's income, screwing with the food supply chain. Did you see how silly Americans acted when we started running low on toilet paper? Women going in and filling 2 shopping cart fulls, and one woman would go up and say, "Can I have a thing of?" Oh yeah, he screwed with bank accounts with the truckers. He actually got involved in the what is it called? The GoFundMe. How could he even legally do that? This is why big tech is dangerous. Big tech is working hand in hand. Remember PayPal? They've just sealed their doom. They've become a woke company and everybody's pulling out of it. This YouTube that I'm using is not a friend of me. Google's not my friend. Facebook's not my friend. They're platforms that I use. But I'm already preparing myself mentally the day they shut down. Hey, maybe I'll be delivered from my use of the computer. And yet you have to use the computer to apply for jobs. Even my job. We need to check your phone, check your email. Oh, why do I got to go through? I'm coming here to work. I don't want to be on all these apps and stuff. It's ridiculous. It's like, people are worried about, their personal privacy. Dude, they know what you're doing. The school buses where I drove now have something, the tablets, where they can open up a window and be live and see into your bus. Drivers are a little concerned about that, and I don't blame them. Kids are fighting. Kids are threatening drivers. School district isn't doing anything about that. Did you notice that at your job? You got problem employees, nothing's done about them, but you come to work every day, you do your job, and you're the one that's under the gun every day. This is what's happening. The workplace has become a loaded landmine. And if you work with white women in a workplace in America, watch your back, boys. Don't flirt. Don't comment on her dress. If you don't have to deal with her, don't engage. And if you do have to engage with her only on a work base, don't go to lunch with her. Don't do anything. Now, I'll put in a plug for African Americans. Where I work, it's mostly African Americans. I can say they have a nice dress. They don't get offended. African American women are much more straightforward. They're less about the plastic and the games. So in a workplace, that's nice. No, they haven't had us do that yet. But I'm not driving the bus anymore. I'm doing something else. I started getting vertigo. We were asked to do routes and lots of routes and cover routes. And the kids, I had been driving for 20, 25 years in a bus, and I had my ups and downs with it, but overall I liked it. And here, buses that were too hot, the AC didn't work, and it's sweltering inside, mold on the ceiling, and have to degrease the ceiling to get the black mold off. Kids out of control, a lot of ghetto, a lot of crime, a lot of, well, hatred towards anything of value, whites, Christians, Trump, anything good. I took a pay cut, but I like more what I'm doing now. The stress went, started getting a vertigo. I never had it. Head spinning and you're throwing up. And I had to say, I went to management and said, I can't do this anymore. I need to find out what's causing it. I was burning incense in my room. I stopped that. I stopped using the COVID sprays on the bus. I tried all this experimenting and nothing worked. It's funny. Ever since I got out of that job, I get that little bit of wooziness. But guess what? I'm not getting that bouts like I had before. So it was God's way of telling me that you're done, Captain. Hang it up. The joy of driving a bus has been sucked out of it by politics. We don't get paid enough to deal with the stress, the baloney. You don't get back to the schools. All the schools care about is getting them to the schools. And my personal opinion is that public education has become the largest taxpayer-funded daycare system out there. They're not being taught the 3 R's anymore. They're being taught about woke politics and transgender this and that. And I'm against that. I believe in an education, but we're not getting it. I have more to say about this, but time is staring me in the face, and with the hour of kickback, my body's off. So, by the way, anybody want to vote on this one? I'm against daylight savings time. They need to get rid of it. Living overseas made me realize, why do we do this? The other countries in the world don't do it. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Good group of people making comments. I appreciate that. I'm not just about whining and bitching. I'm about, if there's any way I can be a part of the solution, and the only thing I can do is vote. My vote actually has no muscle or power, but it's something. And man, I hope as long as I'm alive, the left does not gain control. But if the Republicans are gaining control, they need to put rules in place that cannot be overturned to prevent this sort of thing from happening. That's stacking the Supreme Court. That needs to stop. They need to put some laws, and they need to make some amendments to the Constitution, which is going to be very hard to do, to safeguard the system of checks and balances. Pretty scary. I actually became aware that if the Democrats get in control, they can overthrow the House and the Senate and the Constitution just because they've got the control to do it. We need safeguards against that. This is Pacific signing off. Till next time.